I was your typical software developer with a decent job, a small circle of friends, and what I thought was a pretty amazing girlfriend. Jessica and I had been together for 2 years, and things were serious enough that I had been saving up for an engagement ring. We lived together in a cozy apartment, shared a Netflix account, and even talked about buying a house someday. That all changed with a single text message while she was supposedly on a girls' trip to Miami. "I need some space, Billy. Please don't contact me for a while." No explanation, no warning. Just those cold words on my screen that made my heart drop to my stomach. If you are watching this video, drop a comment letting me know where you are viewing from. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because trust me, what happened next in this relationship bombshell is something you absolutely will not see coming. My life before Jessica was admittedly a bit lacking in the romance department. I had thrown myself into my career at Techstream Solutions, a growing software company in Seattle. At 32, I had managed to climb my way up to senior developer with a comfortable salary and respectable reputation in the industry. My work kept me busy with long hours and challenging projects, which served as a convenient excuse for my nearly non-existent dating life. My last serious relationship had ended badly when I caught my college girlfriend cheating with my roommate. That experience left me with trust issues that followed me for years. I had a few short-term relationships after that, but nothing substantial. They all seemed to fizzle out after a few months, usually because I was either too focused on work or too guarded with my emotions. "Billy, you need to get back out there," my friend Ryan would constantly tell me. "You cannot spend another weekend debugging code and watching documentaries." Eventually, Ryan and his wife Amanda convinced me to try dating apps. I reluctantly created profiles, went on a handful of awkward dates, and was about ready to delete everything when I met Jessica. But here is the twist: I did not actually meet her through an app. I met her the old-fashioned way, completely by accident. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when I ducked into a local coffee shop to escape a sudden downpour. The place was packed with people seeking shelter from the rain, and the only available seat was at a small table where a woman was working on her laptop. I asked if I could join her, and she smiled and nodded. Jessica had warm brown eyes, shoulder-length dark hair, and a smile that immediately put me at ease. She was wearing a professional-looking blouse and had marketing materials spread across the table. We started with polite small talk, but it quickly evolved into a genuine conversation. I learned she worked as a marketing executive for Collins & Burke, a firm that handled several major tech clients. The coincidence made us laugh. Our companies had actually collaborated on projects before, though our paths had never crossed. "Do you hike?" she asked, suddenly noticing the trail map sticking out of my backpack. When I told her I was an avid hiker, her eyes lit up. "I just moved here from Chicago 6 months ago, and I have been dying to explore the trails, but none of my friends are into it." Our coffee meeting stretched to nearly 2 hours, as we discovered more shared interests: photography, true crime podcasts, Thai food, and an embarrassing love for cheesy 80s movies. By the time the rain stopped, I had her number and plans for our first official date that weekend. Our first date was at a photography exhibition in the downtown gallery. I remember being nervous, arriving 15 minutes early, and then pretending to be deeply interested in an abstract sculpture when she walked in, but my nerves disappeared almost immediately. There was something effortless about being with Jessica. The conversation flowed naturally as we moved from exhibit to exhibit, sharing opinions and stories. When our hands accidentally touched while looking at the same photograph, neither of us pulled away. After the exhibition, we had dinner at a small Italian restaurant nearby. Jessica told me about growing up in Chicago with her 2 sisters, her marketing degree from Northwestern, and her ambition to eventually start her own agency. I shared stories about my childhood in a small Oregon town, my computer science obsession that started with taking apart my first PC at age 12, and my dream of developing my own software company someday. "I like that you have ambition," she said, touching my hand across the table, "but you also seem grounded." That is rare. The relationship progressed naturally after that. We started seeing each other several times a week. I introduced her to my favorite hiking trails, and she introduced me to her favorite restaurants. Our third date ended with our first kiss outside her apartment building, and by the 1-month mark, we were officially exclusive. What impressed me most about Jessica was how well she fit into every aspect of my life. My friends liked her immediately, even Ryan, who was usually skeptical of the women I dated. When I brought her to our regular game night, she jumped right into the complex board games without hesitation and charmed everyone with her competitive spirit and quick wit. You finally found a keeper, Ryan told me after meeting her. Jessica got along just as well with my family when I took her home for Thanksgiving. My mom, who normally interrogated any woman I brought home, was giving me knowing looks by the end of the weekend. "Do not let this one get away," she whispered while Jessica was helping my dad with the dishes. As the months passed, our relationship deepened. We developed comfortable routines together, weekend hikes when the weather permitted, cooking dinner together while dancing to 80s music in my kitchen, and Sunday morning coffee and crosswords in bed. It felt natural to make space for her things in my apartment, and after 6 months she was staying over more often than not. Around our 1-year anniversary, Jessica's lease was up for renewal, and we decided to officially move in together. We found a 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the city skyline. The second bedroom became our shared office space, with her marketing materials organized neatly on one side and my computer set up on the other. Living together felt like the next logical step, and it went surprisingly smoothly. We complemented each other well. I was more organized and she was more spontaneous. I thought we had all the signs of a healthy relationship. We communicated openly about most things, from mundane daily irritations to bigger life decisions. When I was stressed about a major software launch, Jessica would bring me coffee and give me space to work. When she was nervous about a big client presentation, I would help her practice and give feedback. We talked about the future, buying a house in the next few years, possibly getting married, maybe even having kids someday. By our second year together, I was seriously thinking about proposing. I had started putting aside money for a ring, even casually asking her friends about her jewelry preferences. In my mind, we were solid. Sure, we had the occasional disagreement or miscommunication, but nothing major. No relationship is perfect, right? Looking back, I can see the warning signs that started about 6 months before everything fell apart. Jessica began working longer hours, often coming home after I had already gone to bed. She explained that Collins and Burke had taken on several new major clients, requiring more meetings and business trips. I believed her because her firm really was growing rapidly, and I had seen the new client announcements in industry news. "It is just for a few months until we get these accounts established," she assured me. "Then things will calm down." Physical intimacy between us decreased, but I attributed that to her exhaustion from work. Our emotional connection seemed different too. She shared fewer details about her day, and our conversations became more surface level. When I asked about specific clients or projects, her answers were vague. "Just boring marketing stuff," she would say with a dismissive wave. "Tell me about your day instead." Jessica also started mentioning new colleagues and friends that I never met. There was Andrew from the creative team, Sophia from client relations, and Thomas from account management. When I suggested having them over for dinner sometime, she always had a reason why it would not work. The most telling sign was how protective Jessica became with her phone. She used to leave it lying around without concern, but suddenly it was always in her pocket or face down on surfaces. She had added a new passcode, and I noticed she would step away to take certain calls. Once, when I picked up her phone to pass it to her when it was ringing, she practically snatched it from my hand. But I dismissed all these red flags. I told myself I was being paranoid because of my past experience with cheating. Jessica was just stressed and busy with work. Things would go back to normal soon. I trusted her. The Miami trip came up rather suddenly. Jessica mentioned it over dinner one night, explaining that some college friends had organized a girls' getaway weekend and one person had dropped out at the last minute. "Tanya called today and asked if I could take Ashley's spot," she said, looking excited. "They found this amazing deal on a beachfront condo for 4 nights. I have not seen these girls in forever." When I asked which college friends were going, she mentioned Tanya, Kristen, and Rachel, names I had heard before, but women I had never met despite our 2 years together. I found it a bit strange, but I was supportive. "That sounds like fun," I said. "You definitely deserve a break with everything going on at work." The days leading up to the trip, Jessica seemed more animated than she had been in months. She spent evenings planning outfits and making lists of places they wanted to visit. I helped her pack, folding her summer dresses and swimsuits while she gathered toiletries and accessories. The morning of her flight, I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye at the departure drop-off, and told her to have an amazing time. "I will miss you," I said, hugging her one last time. "It is only 4 days," she laughed, but hugged me back tightly. "I will be back before you know it." I had planned to surprise her with a nice dinner when she returned. I even made reservations at Carmine's, the upscale Italian restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary. During the first day of her trip, communication seemed normal. She texted when she landed, sent a photo of the impressive beachfront condo they were staying in, and called briefly before they went out for dinner. But after that, things got strange. The texts became fewer and shorter. When I asked what they had done that day, her responses were vague, just beach and shopping or exploring the city. She stopped initiating contact, only responding to my messages sometimes hours later. When I called in the evenings, it would go straight to voicemail. She would text back later saying they were at a club or restaurant where it was too loud to talk. "Having so much fun, signal bad here. Talk tomorrow." What really made my stomach twist was seeing her active on social media but not responding to my texts. She would post a beach photo with a generic caption like Miami vibes, but with no specific details about what they were doing or who she was with. Strangely, none of her supposed college friends appeared in any of the photos. By the third day, I had a gnawing feeling in my gut that something was off. I tried to rationalize it. She was on vacation, having fun, probably busy. But a part of me knew this was not like her, even with our recent rough patch. The old Jessica would have been sending me funny updates and inside jokes throughout the day. Then came the text that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at work deep into coding when my phone buzzed. Seeing Jessica's name, I felt a small burst of relief, hoping for a more substantial update about her trip. Instead, what I read made my blood run cold. "Billy, I have been doing a lot of thinking during this trip. I need some space to figure things out. Please don't contact me for a while. I will reach out when I'm ready to talk." I stared at the message in disbelief, reading it over and over. This could not be happening. Not after 2 years together. Not after talking about marriage and a future. Not via text while she was supposedly on a girls' trip. I immediately tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail. I called again. Same result. I sent several messages. "What's going on? Can we please talk about this? Did something happen? Please call me." "Jessica, this isn't fair. We need to discuss this." No response. It was like hitting a wall. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. My coworker Dave noticed something was wrong and asked if I was okay. I mumbled something about a family emergency and left the office. The drive home was a blur. I felt physically ill, my chest-tight stomach churning, a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead. When I got to our apartment, I sat in the parking lot for nearly an hour, unable to bring myself to go inside. Our home, the space we had created together. Now what was it? That night was the first of many sleepless ones. I lay awake, analyzing every conversation, every interaction from the past few months, searching for clues I might have missed. Had she met someone else? Was it something I had done? Was this just a phase or the beginning of the end? The questions tormented me with no answers in sight. I took 2 days off work, unable to focus on anything. My boss was understanding, but I knew I could not avoid real life forever. I cycled through denial, anger, bargaining, and despair, sometimes all within the same hour. I called my friend Ryan, who came over immediately with beer and takeout. "This is completely out of nowhere," I told him, pacing our living room. Everything was fine. We were talking about the future. I was going to propose. Ryan listened as I talked through every theory. She was stressed about work. She needed a temporary break. She was scared of commitment. Someone had said something to turn her against me. But we both knew these explanations felt hollow. "Maybe she just needs time to think things through," Ryan suggested, but I could tell he did not believe it either. I respected Jessica's request for space, as much as it tortured me. I stopped calling and texting, though I checked my phone obsessively for any message from her. Days passed with no contact. According to her social media, she had extended her Miami stay by 2 more days. There were still no photos of these supposed college friends, just scenic beach shots and cocktails. Her work colleagues seemed unaware of any crisis, posting normal comments like, "Enjoy your vacation," and "Bring back some sunshine." It was on day 6 of this torturous silence that everything changed again. I needed to find some photos for a work presentation images from a company event that I had backed up to our shared cloud storage. Jessica and I had set this up months ago for convenience, linking both our phones to automatically upload photos to the shared account. As I scrolled through the folders looking for the work event, I noticed a new album had been created 3 days ago titled simply Miami 2023. My finger hovered over it. This was Jessica's private vacation album. She had not shared these photos with me. Was it wrong to look? In that moment of hesitation, my eyes caught a thumbnail preview of one image that was partially visible. It showed a man's arm around someone's waist on a beach. My heart started racing as I clicked on the folder. The photos loaded one after another, each one driving the knife deeper into my chest. Jessica on a beach with a tall, well-dressed man I had never seen before. Jessica and this man at dinner, his hand covering hers on a candlelit table. Jessica and the man kissing on a hotel balcony with the Miami skyline behind them. I felt physically sick, running to the bathroom to throw up. When I returned to my computer, I forced myself to look through every single photo. There were dozens of them documenting what was clearly a romantic vacation, not a girls' trip. They had visited upscale restaurants, taken a yacht cruise, walked hand in hand on the beach at sunset. In every photo, they looked blissfully happy. The man looked vaguely familiar, though I could not immediately place him. He was older than me, maybe in his early 40s, with salt and pepper hair and an expensive watch that was visible in several photos. He had the polished look of someone successful, designer clothes, confident smile, comfortable in luxury settings. I sat there numb with shock, as the full reality of the betrayal washed over me. The "I need space" text made perfect sense now. It was not about needing time to think, it was about needing me to stop contacting her while she was with this man. After the initial shock and nausea subsided, a cold determination took over. I needed to know who this man was. I downloaded one of the clearest photos of him and ran it through a reverse image search. It took several attempts with different photos, but eventually I got a match. James Thompson, Chief Marketing Officer at Geotech Industries, a major client of Collins and Burke Jessica's firm. A simple social media search filled in the rest of the picture. James was a successful executive with an impressive online presence. LinkedIn showed his career progression through several major companies before landing at Geotech 3 years ago. His professional profile was full of industry awards, speaking engagements, and company milestones. His personal Facebook and Instagram accounts painted another picture entirely. James Thompson, family man. His profile photo showed him with a beautiful blonde woman and 2 children, a boy around 10 and a girl about 7. According to his profile information, he had been married to Amanda Thompson for 12 years. The pieces started falling into place with sickening clarity. Jessica's increased work hours and business trips had coincided with Geotech becoming a major client of her firm about 8 months ago. She had mentioned the account several times in the beginning, talking about how landing such a big client was a coup for the company. Then mysteriously, she had stopped mentioning Geotech, specifically referring only to client meetings and business trips. I dug deeper, cross-referencing James's social media posts with times Jessica had been working late or at conferences. There were too many coincidences to be accidental. A marketing conference in Chicago where both had checked in at the same hotel. A client meeting in Portland the same weekend James had posted about a business trip to Oregon. A company happy hour where Jessica appeared in the background of a photo on James's company page. This affair had not started in Miami. It had been going on for months right under my nose. I also discovered James's wife Amanda on social media. Her profile was filled with family photos, community events, and proud posts about their children's accomplishments. She seemed completely unaware that her husband was in Miami with my girlfriend while she was at home with their kids. My stomach churned at the thought. I spent hours researching affairs and their impact on relationships. Article after article confirmed what I already suspected: affairs rarely ended well for anyone involved. The statistics on relationships that began as affairs were dismal. Most collapsed under the weight of broken trust and guilt. The damage to spouses, children, and extended families could last for years. Then there was the ethical question. Did Amanda Thompson deserve to know what her husband was doing? Did I have the right, or perhaps the responsibility, to tell her? I called Ryan again, needing a sounding board for the moral dilemma I was facing. I know what I would want if I were in her position, Ryan said after I explained everything. But this could blow up in a lot of different directions. Are you prepared for that? I considered walking away, deleting the photos, and trying to move on with my life. It would certainly be the easier path. But every time I pictured Amanda Thompson at home with her children, blissfully unaware of her husband's betrayal, I could not bring myself to stay silent. I have to do something, I told Ryan. But I need to be smart about it. I spent the next day planning my approach. I did not want to act purely out of anger or revenge, though both emotions were certainly present. I needed to be strategic and consider the potential consequences. Eventually, I settled on a simple but effective plan. I would not contact Amanda directly; that could too easily be dismissed as the ranting of a jealous ex. Instead, I would let the photos speak for themselves, but in a way that could not be ignored or explained away. I selected 5 photos that clearly showed Jessica and James together romantically, one at a candlelit dinner, one kissing on the beach, one on a yacht with champagne, one entering what appeared to be a hotel room, and one cuddled up on a beach blanket at sunset. All were unambiguously romantic and impossible to explain as just business. I created a social media post with these 5 photos and a simple factual caption: "Found these vacation memories from Miami, automatically uploaded to our shared cloud storage, tagging everyone who might be interested." Number no more secrets, I tagged both Jessica and James. And then after a moment's hesitation, I tagged Amanda Thompson as well. I hit post and immediately felt a wave of nausea and adrenaline. There was no going back now. Within 5 minutes, my phone started ringing. "Jessica." I declined the call. It rang again, immediately. I declined again. Then text messages started flooding in. "What have you done? Delete that right now. Billy, please call me. I can explain everything. You have no idea what you've just done." I turned my notifications off and put my phone on silent. Through my computer, I could see that Jessica had already removed the tags from the post, but it was too late. According to the notification counter, the post had already been seen by dozens of people in our shared network. About 20 minutes later, I received a call from a number I did not recognize. I let it go to voicemail. The message left was from a male voice, tight with controlled anger. "This is James Thompson. I need to speak with you immediately about the post you made. This is a private matter that you have no right to make public. Call me back at this number." I did not call back. Instead, I watched as the situation unfolded online. The post was being shared and commented on by mutual friends and colleagues. Jessica's social media went suddenly quiet, no new posts, no responses to comments. James Thompson's accounts were similarly silent. Then my phone rang again. This time it was Ryan. "Dude, have you seen what is happening? Jessica is calling everyone we know, trying to damage control. She called Amanda to try to convince her that the photos were manipulated or something." An hour later, I received another call from an unknown number. This time I answered. "Hello? Is this Billy?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is Billy. This is Amanda Thompson, James's wife. I think we need to talk. We spoke for nearly an hour." Amanda had suspected something was off for months, but had no concrete evidence. James had been gaslighting her, making her feel paranoid for questioning his late nights and business trips. The photos I posted had confirmed what she had feared but could never prove. "I know this must be painful for you too," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "But thank you for having the courage to bring this into the light." Later that evening, I finally answered one of Jessica's calls. Her voice was raw from crying, alternating between anger and pleading. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded. "Do you know what you have done to James's family? I did not do this to you or to James's family," I replied. surprised by the calmness in my voice. You and James did this. I just refused to be complicit in the lie. It was not what you think, she insisted. James and I have real feelings for each other. He was going to leave Amanda. We were going to tell you both after we figured things out. Is that why you told me you needed space instead of being honest, so you could string me along as a backup plan while you tested the waters with him? She had no answer for that. James is furious, she said after a moment. He says his lawyer will sue you for defamation and invasion of privacy. The truth is an absolute defense against defamation, I said, recalling a fact from a legal podcast I followed. And those photos were automatically uploaded to a cloud account that you knew we shared. There was no privacy invasion. The conversation continued in circles, with Jessica alternating between threats, justifications, and tearful apologies. Eventually, I had heard enough. Jessica, I respected you enough to believe you deserved honesty. That is why I could never do to you what you did to me. I wish you and James the best, but I'm done with this conversation. As I ended the call, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The pain was still there, but alongside it was a certainty that I had dodged a bullet. Someone who could lie so convincingly for months, who could look me in the eye while betraying me, was not someone I wanted to build a life with. The weeks that followed were undeniably difficult. Jessica moved out of our apartment while I stayed with Ryan for a few days to give her space to pack. When I returned, the place felt empty in a way that went beyond the missing furniture and belongings. Shared memories lurked in every corner, but they now felt tainted, like looking at old photographs and realizing the smiles were forced. There were practical matters to deal with: her name, to remove from the lease, shared bills, to separate mutual friends who felt caught in the middle. Jessica had left her key on the kitchen counter with a long letter that I never read. I threw it away unopened. Some things were better left in the past. The loneliness hit me hardest at night. I had grown used to Jessica's presence, the sound of her breathing, the way she would unconsciously reach for my hand in her sleep. Now the bed felt too large, too quiet. I found myself staying up late, working or watching mindless television, anything to avoid the moment of lying down in that empty space. Through mutual friends, I heard bits and pieces about the aftermath on Jessica and James's end. Their relationship had imploded spectacularly within weeks of being exposed. James had initially tried to reconcile with Amanda, begging for another chance for the sake of their children, but Amanda, strengthened by the knowledge that her suspicions had been valid all along, had filed for divorce. Jessica had taken a leave of absence from work when the scandal affected her professional reputation. Apparently, office gossip revealed that she was not the first junior employee James had pursued, just the most recent. Her carefully cultivated career image had been severely damaged. I was not proud of finding satisfaction in these updates, but I would be lying if I said I felt nothing but compassion. A small, wounded part of me was gratified to know that the fantasy they had built together had crumbled under the weight of reality. My own healing process was slow but steady. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in relationship, trauma, and betrayal. Dr. Lyons helped me work through the anger and trust issues, challenging me to examine the relationship honestly, both the good parts and the red flags I had ignored. The goal is not to never trust again, she told me during one session. It is to trust wisely with your eyes open. I reconnected with old friends who had drifted to the periphery during my relationship with Jessica. I joined a local hiking group, reclaiming an activity that had brought me joy before it became associated with her. I threw myself into a challenging new project at work, which led to a promotion that gave me a sense of forward momentum. One of the unexpected developments during this period was my friendship with Amanda Thompson. After our initial phone conversation, we met for coffee, sharing the strange bond of people who had been betrayed by the same pair of individuals. Amanda was navigating her own difficult journey, explaining the divorce to her children, rebuilding her self-confidence, learning to be a single parent. Despite the painful circumstances of our meeting, I found her strength and resilience inspiring. Some days I still feel like I am drowning, she admitted during one of our conversations. But then I remember that living truthfully, even when it is painful, is better than living in a comfortable lie. That sentiment resonated deeply with me. The truth had been painful for everyone involved, but it had also been necessary and ultimately freeing. I could not imagine still living in ignorance, planning a future with someone who had already chosen someone else. Through Amanda, I learned about a support group for people who had experienced infidelity. Initially reluctant, I eventually attended a meeting and was surprised by how helpful it was to be in a room with others who truly understood the unique pain of betrayal. Over time, I became something of a mentor to newer members, finding healing in being able to help others navigate the same difficult terrain I had crossed. 6 months after the Miami incident, I was in a much better place. The pain had faded from an acute constant ache to an occasional twinge. I had developed new routines and habits that did not revolve around memories of Jessica. My apartment had been rearranged and redecorated, erasing the visible reminders of our shared life. I had also gained valuable perspective on relationships and warning signs. Looking back, I could see the red flags that had been waving frantically while I deliberately looked away: the sudden password changes, the vague explanations, the decreased intimacy, the protective behavior with her phone. I had ignored these signs because I wanted to believe in the relationship we had built. That was a mistake I would not repeat. Through mutual friends, I heard that Jessica and James had briefly tried to make their relationship work after both their primary relationships had ended. Predictably, it had fallen apart. As the saying goes, how you get them is how you lose them. The foundation of lies and betrayal could not support the weight of a real relationship. Jessica had eventually taken a job in another state, making a fresh start away from the wreckage. Amanda was doing remarkably well, focusing on her children and returning to the career she had put on hold during her marriage. We kept in touch, our friendship evolving beyond its unusual beginning. She had started dating again, cautiously but optimistically, modeling for her children what healthy boundaries and self-respect looked like. As for me, I had recently gone on my first date since Jessica. It was nothing serious, just coffee with a woman I had met through a work colleague. We had a pleasant conversation, and while there were no immediate fireworks, it was an important step. I was open to the possibility of connection again, but with a new understanding of what true partnership meant. The experience with Jessica had taught me painful but invaluable lessons. I learned that trust must be earned continuously, not given blindly. I learned that ignoring red flags does not make them disappear, it only delays and magnifies the inevitable pain. Most importantly, I learned that self-respect must come before any relationship. Perhaps the most unexpected lesson was finding gratitude within pain. I was genuinely grateful that I discovered the truth before making a more permanent commitment like marriage. I was grateful for the friends who supported me through the darkest moments. I was even grateful for the growth the experience had forced upon me, painful as it was. The philosopher Nietzsche famously said that what does not kill us makes us stronger. I do not know if that is universally true, but in my case, surviving betrayal had indeed made me stronger, wiser, and more authentic. I had lost someone I thought was the love of my life, but in the process I had found a more honest version of myself. If you have ever experienced betrayal or are going through it now, I want you to know that the pain does eventually subside. The fog lifts and clarity returns. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision between keeping a painful secret or exposing the truth? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who is struggling with a similar situation. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about relationships, betrayal, and personal growth. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to always choose truth, even when it is the harder path.